Is it more important first to really like focus on a good manager or a good lawyer?
The question that they should be asking themselves before they even release music is, what am I doing that's different from everybody else? You don't have to be a superstar to make a great living and make a lot of money in this business.
Is the music business a scary thing if you have no help?
He literally said, if you want to do anything in this world, he's like, you're gonna have to learn how to turn your accent on and off.
All about the music business. This the video version of it, you feel me? All right, y'all, listen. Today, I switched it up on y'all. Mimi switched it up on y'all. We have one of those business execs. What else would you want to call yourself? You got a lot of, you wear a lot of hats, so.
Music executive is, yeah. That's fine, because everything else falls underneath that. That's usually what I say. I'm just a music executive, so management, label, deal, flow, person. So yeah, all of it kind of falls under management executive, music executive.
Yes, sir. We definitely got one of those. This is like a switch up interview. We're really going to get into the business side, management side, and stuff like that. So if you're a producer,
I'm a first with the switch up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
look at me, goddamn it!
There's a producer platform, so they thinking, oh, we're finna talk about like some producer shit. Really finna talk about something totally different. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I asked Justice. I was like, bro, this is not you know I don't fucking care. Can't make a beat for shit in my life. Like, I'm not a fucking producer. I'm trash at it. I can't be an artist. I can't motherfucking be a producer. None of that shit works for me. I have no talent. But I have an ear. This is crazy. And I was on a whole fucking drum line. I play fucking drum. Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, so we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's get into the credits first. So previously managed Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, we talking right now?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought we were still prepping this.
That shit was smooth. Yeah.
I didn't know we was goddamn doing it for real. My bad. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So previously managed Lil Wayne, Drake, Nicki Minaj.
Yes.
That's three-headed goat right there.
Yes.
I ain't even gonna lie.
Yes. Superstars.
If y'all don't know, I'm gonna show y'all some B-roll. If I think I got some B-roll from the old camera, man. But we in CultureLab right now. The studio on the come up. This is a crazy studio too. We got the gaming room. We got the studio room. They got little conferencing rooms and stuff. Crazy lounge.
Yes.
Also managed Latto, G-Eazy.
Yes.
Who else, man?
Lil Nas X.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Crazy one. That's a crazy one right there.
That's a crazy lineup.
Yeah, man. I've been blessed. Listen, I've been blessed. Like, I don't even know. I sit back and look, because it's been 19 years now. 19 years for me, you know, and I've seen a lot of people come and go, artists, executives. So I'm blessed just to still be here and work with incredible, talented artists. You know, I don't even know. You know, I try to do the right thing and be a good person, man. And God has definitely looked down on me in a very, very good way.
All right, so before we even get into it, like, any question, just answer this one question right here.
You forgot something.
Icebreaker.
The name.
Oh, I'm Cortez Bryant.
I mean,
that's my name. And I'm switching. I'm the pivot to the whole executive series. So I look, man, this is a
right, nicknames in the cut.
I feel good. Everybody call me Tez. Instagram Tezzington. So I get people in the streets calling me Tezzington because that's my IG name. So yeah, but most of the people call me Tez.
All right, so boom.
Oh, Tez Poe. That's Wayne and everybody. That's like early days New Orleans.
Before we get into Icebreaker, I have this like controversial question. Yeah.
Okay.
How many years you said you've been in the music business overall?
19 years. I'm old.
Is the music business a scary thing if you have no help?
Is it a scary thing if you have no help? Yes. Definitely is, especially on the executive side. Mm-hmm. Just overall, I think it's easier now in y'all generation because when I started, the internet wasn't really popping. There was no YouTube to look up these conversations to learn from people. You know what I'm saying? And YouTube didn't exist when I started in the business. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of resources out there. But I think it's very scary because even to this day, hip hop is the largest genre in the world right now, right? And we still have people who are not exposed to all the different black people who are not exposed to all the different things behind the scenes that they have. You know, it literally was the reason why I'm teaching back in my alma mater, Jackson State University. I've been teaching the careers in music class, and I'm developing a 2-year music business certificate program that starts in the fall. But that was my purpose of going back. you know, and then all the things we're doing here at CultureLab with Project Go Dark, like internship programs. Like after 19 years, I feel it's only right for me, all the blessings I've got to work with all those amazing people to pay it forward. And can be scary to answer your question because I be rambling a lot. So if y'all got to stop me, y'all got to stop me. But to answer your question, it can be scary if you don't have know how to do it. There's no manual or no book. You know what I'm saying? I graduated from an HBCU. You know, there's over 100 HBCUs. There may be like 5 programs out of 100 schools that has a music business program. You know, so there's no way to really teach you what to do. You know, there's no handbook for artists to get into this, especially if you don't know nobody or have somebody that you could look up to mentor. It could be a very, very scary place. But that's why I'm trying to solve that problem. That's literally my purpose right now in this chapter of my life, is solving that problem.
All right, so I can already tell this is going to be one of them type of interviews. And before we get to the icebreaker, a good follow-up question I want to ask is, like, for someone who's just getting into the music business, whether you're an artist, producer, engineer, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Is it more important first to really like focus on a good manager or a good lawyer?
Manager probably first, because you got to have something, manager first and then lawyer probably second. It's crazy. I just taught that. That was my last lesson last week in my class. You know, you want to start building your team with a manager. And that's literally somebody that's going to be out there hustling, working on your behalf to tell the world about you and try to figure out opportunities for you, whether you're making beats or you're an artist. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody that's going to help let a creative be a creative and try to help have somebody that's, while the creative people are cooking up the magic, you know, and doing their part, you can have somebody, you know, out there trying to forge those opportunities. When those opportunities come, a lawyer is super important. And that's something I always tell people, you know what I'm saying? And that's a lot in the history of black music, black artists. You always hear these people signing these deals, money being thrown in their face without any real legal representation. But again, I say this in my class, some people think that they have to pay lawyers tons of money and think, I can afford a lawyer, without even knowing that, you know, a lot of these lawyers, you got something going. If you got a label coming, they'll take a percentage just off the deal, you know, and you don't have to pay them nothing up front. But a lot of people not exposed to that information to understand that. So, yeah, to answer you, manager first and then lawyer.
I ain't gonna lie, I fuck with that. It's interesting because a lot of producers we ask, they say, well, you really need to get a lawyer first because they're gonna handle the business side. But it's definitely like, I don't know, to me, it'd be like 50-50 sometimes, because it's like, I know people who move without managers and they just need that lawyer to do business. But at the same time, there's other people who, like, if they don't really know how to like network and talk and they need someone to do that for them, they definitely need the manager first.
Well, I mean, you're right about that. So if it's someone, and we talking about producers, right, who's in these studios, who's getting these opportunities, producers is different than artists, right? Because you could be a producer, you sending packs or you in the right rooms, and you know, and you could grab a placement. You necessarily don't need a manager more so. Artist probably much more important because it's a lot of layers that go into that than a producer, where you could be, you know, hanging in the studio. You could be an engineer by trade and the artist say, yo, I need some beats and pull something up. You get a placement. Yes. So I think it varies, you know what I'm saying? Basically, when you have something when some type of paperwork comes across your desk, and you have to get it to the point where you have to get it to some type of agreement, lawyer automatically. I tell people, don't ever sign anything without a lawyer present, you know, without a lawyer looking over it. So yes, it's some cases like that where a producer could be out here just moving around different studios, networking, and get a placement. And yeah, the first person they should call, they shouldn't worry about a manager. They need to worry about somebody who understands that could hip them to, you know, also explain to them the business of music and what that means, what that asset means when you create a song. You know, because as soon as a song is, as soon as you hear to your ear, anybody hears that song, you know, it's making money. So it's very important to understand all the ways a song is making money, whether you're a producer or an artist. That's the first thing I usually teach in my class, even though my course is called Careers in Music. I usually break down the fundamentals of how to make money in the music business so they can understand, because there's always a lot of producers, and artists in my class, so I try to give them, I was like, listen, you have to understand what it is, what this copyright is, and when a song comes together, all of the different buckets, the publisher side, the writers, music composition side, and then the master side, whether you sign to a label, you put it out independently, and how you're gonna make money, and understand that so you don't ever get fucked, or I don't know if I can cuss on this podcast. So.
You can.
Okay, good. So you don't ever get messed over though. You know what I'm saying? So I try to hip all my artists and anybody who asks a conversation, like, listen, you have to understand these parts. And that's usually what lawyers help to do. A lot of managers may not know that. So I told you I'd be rambling, dog. So if a producer is one of those ones that gets a placement or something, yes, they need to look for a lawyer before they look for somebody to manage them. If they start popping, it might come the opposite way. If they start popping because they got a placement, then they may need a manager to help try to amplify the success that they have from that placement that they may have gotten.
Hi, y'all. This finna be one of them. I know some of y'all niggas don't like to read. What's the book we talk about all about the music business? This the video version of it, you feel me? So we really finna get into all that. I mean, do you want to do icebreakers or I don't know? I feel like he comfortable. I feel like he broke the ice.
I feel like you broke the ice.
For real?
Oh yeah.
We ain't gotta do icebreakers.
I'm cool. I'm comfortable. You know what I'm saying? I drunk a couple glasses of wine and I'm feeling good right now.
All right, so before we get into the gems and the music part, for the producers that's watching, I'm pretty sure some of them not really just know the background and stuff. So let's kind of talk about that, where you're from and how you got into this stuff.
So I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. Went to Jackson State University. I was in a marching band. I started a marching band in my high school, Eleanor McMain Magnet, when I was a junior, and that literally paved my way to where I'm at. I met my best friend and first person to believe in me and ask me to manage him and give me an opportunity in this business was Lil Wayne. We met at that school. So at the same time, me, McMain, Currency, we was at school at the same time at McMain during those years. But even when he was signing Cash Money, those early days, I took my own pathway and took the band scholarship that I had, went to Jackson State University, learned a lot of skills. It just so happened when I finally was able to graduate, I ain't graduated 4 years. When I finally got out of there, right in my senior year, I got that phone call from Wayne asking me, could I, he ain't never had a manager before. And he trusted me because we're best friends. And, I didn't know I was a mass comm major at Jackson State. I had a job lined up at CNN as an entry, right down the street from where we are right now, as an entry-level editor. So I had sort of my career going. Even though his career was balling, I was forging my own path, and he asked me that. I prayed on it. I got my answer was to protect your best friend. And I jumped in head first. We led with faith. I tell everybody, I had it easier than a up and coming manager that have to build an artist from the ground up, because Wayne had already had a couple platinum albums and success and was known. He had a label, signed to Cash Money, Universal. So I had help coming in, so I didn't have to get it out the mud. But yeah, that was my journey. And, we took that leap of faith together. One of the biggest things and the motto of my company, Blueprint Group, is we don't build artists, we build brands. That's one thing I learned at Jackson State in this advertising class I took, paying attention to brands and how these brands stood the test of time, the things, the Kleenexes, the Coca-Colas, so I always looked at artists as a manager, as brands, and told Wayne, one of the first things, that conversation I had with Wayne, I was like, listen, I may not know nothing about, this business, but I definitely understand that, Lord forbid you lose your voice, or whenever you say you're ready to quit, We need to build your brand so you could be making money off of that for the rest of your life. And that's literally what I set out to do.
That's a solid foundation. So, do you feel like going to HBCU influenced your career?
Absolutely, I do. Like, listen, I'm so pro Jackson State and the things that I learned there. I think what I learned when I first stepped on campus in the HBCU, what they get you to appreciate. Well, I won't say they. You know, I hear about other places, but definitely what Jackson State makes you understand is that, you know, they give you the history of how those schools came about.
Yeah.
You know, those schools came about when there weren't other places for Black people to get an education. You know, so we had to create our own schools. So the first thing that you learn. Well, I learned at Jackson State is that you are standing on the shoulders of people who paved the way for you. So it gives you a level of, gave me a level of responsibility that I got to do this right. And a lot of people sacrificed a lot for me to get the opportunity that I got when I was on that campus, you know. And from there, me and for a lot of people, that goes to these schools, especially when they go to school out of state, it'd be the first time they meet people from different places, especially if you come from where I came from, a single parent household, didn't have no money, you know, grew up poor. Mother just made her way to get us by, right? And, you know, that was the first time I was exposed to things outside of the city of New Orleans. I had never traveled too many different places, you know, so I learned a lot from, you know, meeting different people and connecting with people from different other places around the country, which just grew me as a person. In that marching band, the Sonic Boom and the South. Listen, I learned so many lessons that I literally built, you know, the philosophy of my company off of, you know what I'm saying? Leadership and working together, which was our drumline percussion session, Warren Thunder. That was like the motto. So that's all I had when I first jumped into the music business. I had nothing else. I had no study guide. I had no YouTube to look up any interviews. So I had to listen to things that Wayne might have, you know, from his experience had, and then implementing those core skill sets I learned from leadership and working. And I implemented all those things I learned at HBCU and throughout my life into figuring out the music business.
You actually just answered my next question within that question. So let me ask you this. What are some classes that you took at that HBCU that like they're still sticking with you to this day?
Oh man, definitely the biggest one was this advertising class I took in the mass comm, you know, department. That class literally showed me how to understand brands, and all the artists I've worked with, whether it's Drake, Nicki, Wayne, you know, I came into it understanding how brands think. So I kind of knew what to go into a meeting with and understand how they look at their consumer from a young age and try to get them to have brand loyalty to, you know, if I could catch you and I can make you drink Coke at a teenage level when you're starting to come into your own, and you know, and be there with you through college, and when you start making money, hopefully you'll be a Coke, you know, you'll keep Coke in your refrigerator for all your life, right? So I understood how brands think and how they navigate their consumers. So what I did was, you know, took those same philosophies, what I understood, and when I was speaking the language in those meetings about a Wayne, which was really hard to cross. And mind you, he have tats everywhere, grill. Y'all know the subject matter that he talks about. So we talk about a time when hip hop was still seen as taboo, like on the corporate side. You know, it's not as many commercials now. Now they understand that hip hop is culture, and it's you know, it has no color, and it's just crossing over to everybody around the world. But at that time, it was like breaking down the barriers. So I had to tell them, I had to speak in their language based on my advertising class to let them know the value of working with a Lil Wayne and look past the tats, the grills, and even the subject matter and the content to understand who he is and how. And the crazy thing is, I could tell a story. One of those meetings, and this is my catch. It's probably the first Wayne deal we did. You know, I understand there's a bunch of old white guys in the room, right? And one of those meetings, I was just like, you know, when I read the room, and I saw they was listening to me, but they was like kind of tuned out. So I was just like, yo, you have y'all have grandkids, any teenager, granddaughter, daughter, teenage? And I think it was the CTO, CEO, one of them C-suite positions. So yeah, I was like, it was summertime. I was like, call your daughter, granddaughter, whatever it was, and let them know you're in a meeting with, Lil Wayne's representatives, right? And they called him, and mind you, they went nuts.
Crazy.
They went nuts. And from that moment, the light bulb went on. That's me knowing though how they look at their consumer. They weren't about what their teenage, and this is Mountain Dew, I think. This is maybe the Mountain Dew deal. They're looking at they're looking at capturing the consumer at a young age and making them have a brand loyalty throughout. Right. So when I showed that guy that this is with his white niece, daughter or granddaughter, I can't remember what it was excited about, they saw the value. They looked past all that, past tats, past grills, past, lyrics, and literally was like, let's do the deal. And that was when it was Drake, it was easy because Drake was great. Drake was like a breath of fresh air because we got Drake. I was like, oh, you light skinned and you Jewish and you speak like this. And, and Drake is more personable, so he could go to a room and sell himself. It wasn't hard. I could just bring him in a room and click on. Whereas though Wayne is more of an introvert, so I had to break down all those barriers, So, so yeah, that was an advertising class. And I think the next class that probably shaped me a lot out of the second class was probably training the speaking voice. So I had a heavy New Orleans accent.
What class was it?
Training the speaking voice.
Oh, they call that speech communication at class.
Yes. So learning Midwestern standard diction. Shout out Dr. Henderson. So it was literally like I passed all the work. We used to have to read words off a piece of paper, right? And pronounce them correctly, right? And mind you, I would pass all my work, but I would fail these word tests, And he literally said, if you want to do anything in this world, before I knew I was in the music business, but the communications business, right? He was like, you're gonna have to learn how to turn your accent on and off.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I literally started taking it serious and got into it. It changed my way, and it literally changed my. I end up losing my accent. Well, not losing it because it comes out still like around my people and stuff. But it helped me because when I got into business as a manager, you got to talk to a lot of different people, right? And you want to make sure people understand you. You want to get your point across and your words across. So me being able to know how to turn my accent on and off because it was heavy. I was straight. If y'all know anybody from New Orleans.
Yeah. I used to live in Louisiana for a little bit.
Okay, so I was that. So I was that heavy. So, that was very much so impactful in, me going into those rooms. And and being able to articulate in their language so they can understand me when I'm pitching a Lil Wayne to represent their brand.
So I want to go back a little bit. You were saying, because Wayne already had the buzz and already had a whole team and everything, like after he came to you and asked, can you be his manager? So like, what was that adjustment like? Like describe the first 2 years of management Wayne and just what you had to learn down the road.
Oh man, it was tough because he had a label, right? In Cash Money. He had Universal, who's the distributor for Cash Money, right? But he never had his own personal team. So he never had his own person. The label was literally telling him what to do, where to go, and communicate with him directly. So he never had nobody. So, what
year was this like around?
This was 2000 and when I started in 2004, January 2004. So, and mind you, his first album came out in 99. So that's 5 years after his first album. He probably had 2 albums out at the time. First album, I started Carter 1 was the first album where I started with him for first Carter, right? So he never had a team personally. So when I first started, I was everything. I was security, I was DJ, I was a manager, I was assistant, packing bags and carrying his bags and literally moving around like that. And we had to build the team up. and that's how I started. So it was a hard learning curve. It was a learning curve of trust. You know, even though he believed in me, I still had to gain that trust to know that I was up for the task that he, that in what he instilled in me of being his manager. So it was a lot of hard conversations. Literally, the first thing I did, I got robbed by a janky promoter. The very first thing I ever did was I got beat booking a show in Dallas by a promoter named Moose. I don't know where you at. I hope you ain't doing good in your life right now. So, but literally, that's the very first thing. Yeah, listen, I'm damn near. I think I might have really cried. I came back to the hotel. I ain't had a back end money, And Wayne was just like, "You got our flights back home? We got our front end." We're like, "All right, don't worry, just take it as a learn." Like, he laughing at me. I'm damn near about to cry. I'm ready to quit. I was like, "I ain't cut out for this." And I'm still in school now. This is January. I started
don't end
shows.
until like April.
Yeah, I ain't even graduated from Jack State yet. So my that spring semester, I was just going out every weekend. I fly out. We had shows. I was booking shows and flying out every weekend, but I still hadn't graduated and walked across the stage yet. So literally the very first thing I did. So it was a lot of learning lessons and learning curves in that situation. But I say that, I definitely was covered in meeting great people. I always asked a lot of questions, learned a lot, looking how Baby and Slim was moving with Cash Money. I paid attention to a lot of different things, asking questions, asking the people at the label questions. So, figuring it out. And I had a couple good people, especially at Universal Music, the publicity, Vicky Charles, Kia Selby, Katina Bynum still was Wayne's product manager to this day. Like, it was a bunch of people that helped groom me. Jeff Parents. I can name a whole bunch of people that was instrumental, and Rochelle Cross, like, that's very instrumental in my younger days. Thank goodness Wayne had that foundation at that label. People really loved him and believed in him because they was getting a lot of questions from me. I was trying to figure it out. So it was definitely a bunch of hurdles, made mistakes, made a lot of mistakes, a lot of goddamn getting cussed out by Wayne, but he still believed in me and I figured it out.
So let's talk about, managers having to wear multiple hats and all the challenges that you have to face. So can we talk about let's talk about how you can wear the multiple hats at once, even if like there are things that you don't know yet. And then let's talk about how you overcame like some of the challenges that you face as an upcoming manager, like everywhere from like the shows, like you said, to dealing with producers and stuff like that.
Okay, what was the first part of the question? Listen, I got ADD. So
No, it's okay. I just asked like 4 questions in one. Yeah. But talk about wearing the multi hats, like, okay. Especially if you don't, you're a first time manager, you don't really know everything, but talk about how you can still wear those hats to do multiple things at once.
Yeah. I think that, like you have to do that. Like you gotta do whatever it takes. The hustle, like I tell my students in my class, like, the course I teach is called Careers in Music. So I try to break down, when I talk about a different job in the music business, sort of the core skill sets that you have to have, right? And when I talk about managers, I always say, this is people always ask me, what should I look for in a manager and things like that, right? And I was like, listen, you got to have a person that's not afraid to, comfortable in being an extroverted and talking to people, a person that's eager for knowledge, because this music business is ever evolving, and you have to stay, in order to help your client, whatever they're doing, whoever you're managing, you have to be knowledgeable, and, have a thirst for knowledge, to be a geek, to learn all these opportunities to help them grow, you know what I'm saying? Or understand the people knowing the people that's in your industry that you may need to connect with to help your artists, so that thirst for knowledge. And the third thing is the hustle. And the hustle is probably one of the most important things, because especially when you're trying to get on and do something, like, you got to be willing to do everything for your artist side, and then willing to go out there and forge any relationship that you can to get them popping. So, and I tell my students, I'm like, yo, if y'all have those 3 attributes, you can be a manager. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people who's looking for managers, I'm like, you don't have to have a Cortez Bryant. Lil Wayne, a Cortez Bryant right now, because Cortez Bryant wasn't there when Lil Wayne asked him to manage him, right? But Cortez knew that he cared about his best friend. He was gonna go out there and hustle. He was smart. You know, he's gonna try to figure out the best ways to give him opportunities. You know, so and you know, and wasn't gonna be afraid, even though Cortez is probably still extroverted introvert, I call myself. You know, that was something that I had to break and figure out, because I wasn't, you know, I had the shy, you know, I was very shy at that point, you know, but it was something I had to break out. So, you know, and I knew you know, no matter what, you know, I had to do everything to get us popping. We were still billing on the money and stuff like that and getting him money. So I knew that we couldn't afford a DJ or security and also I had to be all those things. I had those skill sets. I was like, look, we ain't got to pay for that. We could do this. We could do this. I could do this. I could do this. I'm going to do this until we able to hustle to make some more money and build a team up, you know? So that was very important. And what was the second part of your question?
So the second part of the question is how you were explaining about what you faced with the janky promoter. Like, let's go through some challenges that you had to face as a manager and like how you overcame them.
It's so many challenges. I think that that one janky promoter is one. It's I'm just.
What's his name again, bro?
Goddamn Moose. I hope you limping right now with 4 toes left on your feet or something. He was a big old dude too. Looked like a moose. I see why they called him Moose, but for real. I feel like I'm joking. I don't wish no bad luck on you, Moose. Whatever it is. Listen, this is what I take from that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the most important thing, because I could probably sit here and go through a plethora of roadblocks that I've had just in learning curves. But the best thing you could do, and this is sort of cliche, but you know, I had to take those things as learning lessons and make sure I don't never goddamn, you know, if your mama tell you the fire is hot and you touch it, you know, you try to touch it and you realize it's hot. You know, if I made these mistakes and bumped my head, I have to make sure I don't want to bump my head again. So I had to take all those. I don't look at losses and failures and bumps in the road as failures, or I don't look at them in a negative way. I look at them as lessons that I was brought there to learn. You know what I'm saying? I look at all I'm very spiritual, so I look at my whole pathway as divine, and how my path was laid is, I feel like, you know, God, you know, sometimes he brings you through negative things in order to catch a real lesson so you can grow and not make those mistakes and learn from them and be better.
I want to add to it. I feel like when Mimi asked that question, kind of like, I don't know, because I feel like a manager is like a problem solver at the same time.
Right. Absolutely.
Like artists are like, well, my manager will handle it. Or even like, some people have managers so they could be the bad guys, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to tell the artist or the producer or whatever, oh, this is my fee, but your manager going to tell the fee, he's the bad guy. So I feel
good
like,
cop, bad cop.
Yeah, when you ask that question, it's like, there's really no limitation to it, because you're going to go outside the box to solve some type of problems and stuff like that.
Yes, that's what we get paid the big bucks for. I think that the side that a lot of people don't see, and I'm glad you mentioned that, is that side, right? Not only the problem solving, but we are literally certified babysitters and therapists. Literally parents, right? Because you gotta understand, as a manager, you're sacrificing yourself for someone else. Like, you know, I am, you know, it depends on the level. Like with Wayne, since we also are friends, right? You know, I dealt with most of his personal stuff, whether it was finding a house or, you know, kids' schools and things like that. Like I got like in the nitty gritty with that, working with his parents of his children, you know, like I used to bounce off that type of stuff. So it depends, but, you know, but also the therapy side of it, and to know what to do and understanding your artists, to know what it takes to make them go. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not easy, especially when you get to the levels of the artists I've been blessed to manage. It's not easy, you know, being an artist. You know, people wish for it, but it comes with a lot. And they're still human beings. So, you know, some of those times they just need a person to bounce off of or know what to do to pick them up, to give them confidence to keep going. Like, or give them that gratification, like, yo, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are still dope. You know what I'm saying? This is hard because it's not easy especially when you get to the levels of the superstars that I've dealt with. So a hidden part of managing that a lot of people don't see is that parental therapist, life coach, understanding your artist to a core, to know what to do to say the right things to keep them going, because it could be a lot when you get to a certain level.
All right, so I got two things, and the second thing is really talking about like artist development, because at the beginning you said you really focus on brand and stuff, but before I even get to that, I'm just curious, like, what is the question you get the most from your students that you answer the most?
A lot of my students, it's especially the art, it's crazy, they just don't know. So they be like, how do I get on? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or most of it probably, can you listen to my music? But they don't, but they don't know. So I had to give them my philosophy on, how I look at artists and what I feel. And like I said, I'm only a person, right? And I'm not always 100% right. I have had a lot of success, but what I feel that they should look at, what they should do when, or what they should focus on breaking through as an artist. That's what they always ask me, And do I need to give that spiel or what I say? Y'all want to hear that or no?
I mean, that's perfect. Cause my second question was going to be on like artist development. I wanted to know like what, besides, cause I feel like Wayne is one of those guys who give you like, I'm gonna show you what work ethic is.
Yes.
There's a couple artists like that, like Future, Wayne,
yes.
Gucci Mane.
Yes.
But obviously, when you're looking for artists, you're working with an artist, they already have to have that work ethic and that talent. But then your job is to fill in the other gaps, like talking, communicating, PR, business side and stuff. So I really want you to talk about like the other stuff that you and Wayne had to work on to really complete the whole picture.
That's a good question.
I think that I had to understand the building blocks of what it takes to be a superstar, right? And I came in there thinking about it, which was building the brand, because when you see, right, building a brand, and what I mean by that is you can have a consumer love your music just for the music, right? When you get these beehives and these navies and these barbs and all these cult fan bases, people connect to you on a whole different level. So, so my job was to figure out how to, what are we gonna stand for in the music, and then you as a person. I build brands in two different ways: on the music side, and then on the as the individual side, right? And how can we connect with, and so you can connect with the person that loves you for your music? How can we connect with them in a bigger way? Because that's when you're going to get an emotional connection that's going to create those cult fan bases, right? Like, it could be the type of cereal you eat, the things you do. Wayne went through a lot of different phases of rock star, skateboarder now, and we purposely did things and partnerships and put things out there to connect with people that may connect in a different way. You know what I'm saying? People might tattoos, whatever it was. Like, you have things that resonate with you personally, right? And I try to highlight that and amplify that, right? And that's what I had to learn. I knew what it was, but I had to learn how to do it. And now it's just the different vehicles of talking to your consumer, right? And I just had to make sure I doubled down on that as we were putting out music. And that's what created these cults. You know what I'm saying? Understanding who, Drake kind of came with it. Oliver and 40, Oliver had the brand, and Drake kind of came with it, what he wanted to do and who he was. I think when we released music, we kind of was catering to what Best I Ever Had first song was catering toward, those women, the ladies, and where we were in the beginning. It kind of built who he was going to be and what he was going to stand for, But that's what I had to figure out of how to do. And once I got that to a science, people want, and then the touring side, that's the biggest side also. stop grabbing just a bag. All money is not good money, right? And understanding how to tour, because you don't get to arenas and state farms and stadiums just by chasing the bag. It's a lot of artists, that have a lot of hits, a lot of success, and can't fill up an arena or an amphitheater. I had to sacrifice it. I can remember having a conversation with Wayne early on when I learned. I met one of my partners, Sean G. and G. Robeson, and we kind of gave me the blueprint of touring, right? And we was getting like on the Chitlin circuit in the club, you know what I'm saying? We getting like 50 bands at this time, 20, probably 25 to 50, depending on where it was, what market it was, in that. But Wayne ended up having to, when I understood what touring was, I had to go and have a conversation with him. Like, listen, we was on Chris Brown's Up Close and Personal tour. It's Chris Brown, Neo, I think it was Dipset, Wayne, and maybe Franchise Boys open. I can't remember. But listen, this is Lil Wayne probably had more platinum albums than everybody that was on that stage. But I took less money. He was making probably like $7,500 to $10,000 a night. Mind you, he was making 50, right? But making like we might have made $10,000 a night, and we was opening for people that literally hadn't sold what he had sold in his career. But the importance of touring and doing it the right way, because it's a model that you have to follow to get to arena status. So a lot of people, and I had to figure that out and understand that. And I had to tell that to Wayne. And all Wayne had to do was just trust me. That's one thing I could say about him. He really believed in me to guide the way, and that's all he had to do was just let go of, he's just like, all right, you say it's cool, Tez, let's do it. He didn't really ask no questions. Like, he literally let me go figure things out and become the architect of the business, and he kind of followed suit. We had creative ideas and his vision, and definitely on his music. But when we were talking about releasing singles, rollout plans, picking dates, all that, Wayne only had to say, I trust you, and put all his faith in me, and I carried that and had to execute that. So those are sort of a couple things that, was with that learning curve of me getting to where I get to that I had to figure out along the way.
All right, so I got really two good questions. Kind of want to relate this more to like, especially artists that watch this podcast, but I feel like with independent artists, the biggest problem is, should I like focus on one song and really push that song, or should I just keep dropping? Like, how like Russ, how he just kept dropping on SoundCloud, like every day or every weekend. Yeah. I forget like exactly how he did it, but what should be like the quantity of songs I should release as an independent artist?
Well, I think nowadays, because of this, like I would have answered this a different way maybe 5 years ago, right? But nowadays, since you have so many artists releasing music, I think this number has to be greater than this, because I think I may have checked this maybe some years ago. It was like 65,000 songs a day being uploaded on Spotify alone, a day. So nowadays, you have to be consistent, because there's so many avenues to where everybody could release music. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be independent and go through a TuneCore, DistroKid, or any one of these distribution companies, and you could get your music out. That's not a problem. When I started, you couldn't put music out. You had to get signed and get your CDs in Target and Walmart and Best Buy and all these places. Like, that was the norm. So now, you want to be consistent, because it's a very microwave society right now. Also, because of, because music is at everybody's fingertips frequently. Like, you could drop a song a major artist could drop a song that 2 weeks later, your fans looking for something else, right? So in order for you to not get forgotten, you have to be consistent. But just dropping songs can't be enough. That's what artists go wrong. Like, the brand side of it. Like, you have to figure out understand, I just told you a stat that was probably outdated right now. It's probably triple that right now of songs being uploaded, right? So you have to understand that if I got all these people releasing music and can't release music, the question that they should be asking themselves, in which they should be doubling down on before they even release music, is what am I doing that's different from everybody else? What am I doing that's different from anybody else? And if they don't have something that's different, words is not enough. You know what I'm saying? Unless you got a crazy distinctive voice like a Kodak, you know what I'm saying? Like you know, or you know, something like if your words or your tone really gonna separate you, you know, if you have a crazy, unique freestyle, right, or flow that's super different, you know, that's not gonna be a lot. When Migos came on, they had a different cadence flow that they was able to break through the fact. You gotta ask yourself, like, you know, as an artist, am I doing something that nobody else is doing? What am I doing that nobody else is doing? Because you gotta have that to break through the fact. Anybody can create a hit. Like, you could be a one-hit wonder and create a good song, but to have a career in this shit, like, you have to figure out, you know, and have staying power. And it don't have to necessarily, like, it could be Moneybagg Yo with an ad-lib and Jeezy. They had ad-libs. It could be something simple as that, or whatever Jeezy was saying to break through. You know what I'm saying? Jeezy flow, his ad-libs, like, it could be how you look. It could be a crazy hairstyle. There's 6ix9ines of the world that came back with crunk music with this crazy hairstyle. Like, but that's what they need to be asking themselves. And as they drop music, what story am I telling my fans? Like, how am I connecting with my fans, right? And how am I building up that audience? I tell people all the time, and trust me, y'all can shut me up every time y'all if I'm getting too long-winded, bro. But I tell them,
hey, nah, keep going.
You don't need, you know, a lot of people fall into the facade and don't know how to get to that level, right? How to get to the level of you know, they fall into, I want to be Future, I want to be Drake or stuff like that. And don't understand that they don't have to look at them and what they got in order to literally sustain themselves, but understand how to grow to that. I say this stat all the time. I say it in a lot of different interviews that I do. You know, if you have 5,000 people, right, spend $200 with you over the course of a year, that could be $50 every 3 months, whether it's a concert ticket, a piece of merchandise, whatever it is you're selling as an artist, right? 5,000 people spend $200 with you in a year. That's $1 million a year. So it's like being successful in the music business is attainable if you manage your goals, you know, and if you understand, you know, as you're putting out this product and releasing these songs, doing it with purpose. If let me pay attention to my audience, you know, let me use an app like Latto or Community where I'm gathering text messages and things like that. If I could build a database of 5,000 people, and then I'm paying attention to people that listen to my music instead of spreading it out wide, right? You know, really singling in on the people, like gradually grassroots grabbing fans, you know? And if you super serve them, make it personal, talk to them direct, it's IG live, you know, invite them all, talk to them, let them get to know you personally. Those people will become your street team and your army to go tell other people. Oh, I love it. This person doing this for me. This person doing this for me, and your career could blossom and grow.
That goes with everything too, brand wise too.
Yeah,
like,
no, literally.
It's brands.
I do this little thing right here. That's a real for sure. I ain't gonna lie, that's a real for sure.
That's brand building for real. So you know, if you think about it that way, and you be consistent, but be purposeful in what your goal is when you are releasing these songs.
Bro, I seen a quote, and I know I'm not going to say it exactly, but it was somebody saying, like, bro, you could be a millionaire just focusing on 100 people that they're going to pay for a product or they're going to support you in any way, and then focus on 1,000 people, and only, 800 of those people just will like something, but will they buy something? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Now, and that's true. So, listen, underneath the management company, my partner Sean G, we have the Roots also, right? and the Roots is probably had one hit that's older than y'all 30 plus years ago now with Erykah Badu, and that probably wasn't even a superstar hit on the level of all our other clients, right? But they probably make more money than any of our clients. You know, millions and millions of dollars because they understood who they was as a hip hop band, and my partner Sean and his partner on the Roots side, we build brands two different ways. We build brands going up, vertical and linear, right? I mean, that's the same thing. Vertical and horizontal, right? Thank you. So, those superstars that we have, that's usually a vertical way of building a brand, right? The horizontal way is probably the roots of it all. And like I said, you don't have to be a superstar to make a great living and make a lot of money in this business. It's understanding your audience and super serving them, doing things that's cool to them. You know what I'm saying? And now they are producing the Grammys 50th hip hop, putting all that whole thing that happened at the Grammys together. You know what I'm saying? They are looked at as those connoisseurs, that brand is growing and they are making money in all different ways based off the brand that was built. But it didn't start that way. It started small. You know what I'm saying? But they super served it. And they still not a Drake or Nicki or a Wayne, but multi-millionaires is doing great, as a collective, and brand is strong. It's still doing cool shit.
So I do definitely, we already kind of talking about rollout here, but before we kind of like dive more into the business side, I feel like another thing that independent artists really run into is like, and you said it a little bit, kind of like focusing your time or putting too much into the music, which you should, but also forgetting about the brand and stuff. But I feel like another thing that like artists run into is like singles or projects. I feel like it's a blurred line. Yeah. Like, should I really dive in and just pump out a whole bunch of projects, or should I like put out a single? What do you think?
My mind is changed recently on this, right? Because of the streaming era. Like, it's like the music business is still evolving day by day. It's things that TikTok wasn't here 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, right? And it's probably the biggest marketing platform for the music business, right? It's ever evolving, and my mind has changed on this because of the streaming era and the you could get on your phone and just listen to what you want to listen to on demand. You don't have to physically go in the store and buy a CD. That takes it out of it. I think that you should be a single driven person until you galvanize enough in your audience, paying attention to your consumers that are consuming your work, wants to get an album for you, care enough to get an album for you. Because right now, a lot of people don't listen. They go to their favorite songs because they're able to, they just go to their favorite songs and listen to their favorite song, create their playlist with their songs that they like. And that'd be that. You know what I'm saying? There's so much music out there, So you have to be a person. You have to build yourself up to a person where a person cares enough to want to listen to a whole project of you, And like I said, I wouldn't put that on a scale of you have to be a fucking very, very a superstar. Because like I said, let me take that back. Depends on what you want out of music. That's the first thing I ask a person, that I start working with as a client on the management side. What do they want? Who they aspire to be? Do you want to be a superstar, headline arenas, or do you want to just do music? Do you want to just do music and not have to work a 9 to 5, do what you love, and make money off of, and so you don't have to work a job, right? So if you want to be a superstar, right, that's a different calculation. You know what I'm saying? I would say, make sure you drop more singles, right? Until a person, because, perception matters, right? Until a large audience wants to dictate and come into and listen to your album, right? So I would say make sure you're calculating in this society, this age we're in right now, to do that. But if you're doing it for the love of music, and you're looking at your 2,000 people, 3,000 people that you're talking to direct, and you're just speaking to them and want to just keep growing, and it's all about the love of the music, by all means, give them that. Because there's no pressure of reaching, selling 100,000 the first week and having that level of success to catapult and build that perception of what it's going to take me to be a superstar, right? So if it's all for the audience, I would say, go ahead, drop the project. You know what I'm saying? If you're just doing it just for the love of the art.
So what do you think are some good ways for new artists to market themselves, and how can upcoming managers market their upcoming artists?
Well, I think that for artists, they have to use the great thing is, like I said, when I started and now, you have a lot of different tools to, connect to your fans. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you got Latto. I like this company, Latto. It's a Texas company, Community. I'm investing in Community.
Community, I stopped using that, but yeah.
Yeah, so both of those companies sort of the same. So you got so many different ways. So as an artist, you got to understand and pay attention to, and even as a manager, your manager job also is to look at all those ways that you have for free to connect to an audience and figure out ways to use those tools in the most effective way in order to get your artist there. There's that. Before you have to go pay a publicist or pay a digital marketing team, if you don't have any money, if you don't have any money, you have a whole lot of tools, right? But you have to understand, again, like I said about the artist, right? And you said it's about branding of all. You still have to figure out a way how to separate yourself from the pack. How can my content be so unique?
So let me ask you, I see a lot of artists, like independent artists with not that much of a following. They'll go out and do these shows out of state. We're talking about 10K follower type artists. You know what I'm saying? Is that really important, or should they really just be focusing on what you said, the TikTok, the SoundCloud, the internet?
I think both of them's important, right? Because your stage presence, like touring and shows, is a very much it's a very important part of the music business. If you could get in front of a consumer personally and capture them on stage with a great performance, you could lock somebody in for life and they could become somebody, right? So, what I would say about if you're going out of town, you have all the analytics now. So you got the Spotify for Artists page. You got places where you can see where your fans are. I would say be strategic about where you're going to understand that,
you're hitting your top market.
Yes, you get in your top markets, and you could get, you may get fans in a room, and if you could win them over personally, maybe they're gonna go out and be your foot soldiers, right? So there's no wrong answer to it. I think you're doing both. You know what I'm saying? Getting on the road, getting in front of people's faces is very much so important. Very much so important. If you're a great performer too. A lot of these y'all generation, I think, are trash performers. That's neither here nor there.
I agree.
That's neither here nor there.
I ain't been to too many shows to even really.
Right, that's neither here nor there. But geez, understanding what that means. That means if you have a couple hits, it's people from the 60s, 70s still touring right now. I went to Anita Baker concert last night, and Babyface. They ain't put out no album in decades, you know what I'm saying? But they filling up the State Farm Arena. If you tour the right way, you get some catalog, and your stage presence is good, people will keep coming see you. That's a revenue of a streaming, a revenue of income that would never go away as long as you're capable of performing. So I think both of those things are good.
So I just wanted to get back into some manager questions. It's the manager in me, so I gotta ask this. Okay. What is the biggest misconception of being a manager?
I think the biggest misconception of being a manager is especially from an artist's point of view, it's the manager's job to, be able to to be A&Rs and to pick beats and to you know, and just be able to do everything, right? And to know everything. But it's, you know, and I was, you know, we're blessed. I was blessed to have an ear and have an A&R strength as part of me as a manager. But, you know, I think that people just got to understand this is misconception from artists' point of view more than just the public, right? You know, is that your manager is there like to go try to forge opportunities for you, you know. Like I tell my students when I'm teaching the class, when I'm teaching the career management, I was like, you don't have to know it all. You just got to be willing, like I said, to have a thirst for knowledge, to go figure things out and put things in place to have your artists. Like you don't have to know everything, you know what I'm saying? But you need to build a team. You need to be able to build a team and manage a team to help different things, different areas that your artists may need, you know, to help them grow. So I think the common misconception from artists, you know, is thinking that, you know, I have a manager, they're gonna, you know, know, you know, shit, what a hit song is and what I used to get. I used to get a lot of that. That's the only thing I can think of right now, you know, because I get a lot of, even though, like I said, I get a lot of artists who be upset with their managers because they may look at my career, right, and be like, I need this. I'm like, nah, you really don't need that. You just need somebody that believes in you and that's going to hustle and create opportunities, right?
Right.
At a certain point, they may need me, and I've co-managed different artists. Like I co-managed G-Eazy with the Rebels Group, which is one of my mentees and guy I work with, me, Jamil Davis. You know, and he reached a point where, you know, the relationships that I've gained based on all the years that they may need and some of the insight to kind of help go across the top. But if you got somebody to hustle for you and willing to go out there and figure out the different strategies, looking at, oh, this is the big tech strategy, we do this, you know what I'm saying, this worked, and you should be able to do that and be able to bring those things to you, you know, that's all you can ask for in a manager.
All right, so I do want to get into like Drake and Nicki, but before we do that, to wrap up with the Lil Wayne side, I feel like every superstar has that point where, you know, you're a rapper, or artist, and you're known in that genre or you're known in that community, but to get to that superstar level, that's when the world knows you. And we kind of already know, like, especially if you're a fan of Lil Wayne, you already know, like, what was the turning point in the music side. But you being the manager on the business side, like, what do you think was the turning point for Lil Wayne brand-wise to kind of push him to that superstar level?
I think that the music part catapulted with the success of the Carter 3. But we had been planting the seeds before that. You know, Wayne had a philosophy, mixtape Wheezy. Like, if we just give out a lot of free music, and this is a time when you got to understand with the time period, I got to paint the picture. So this is a time when CDs is becoming obsolete, you know, and you got the Lime Wires and Napsters, and like music is going to digital. So the labels aren't making a lot of money because there's a lot of piracy, people taking music, jacking music on these sites and not having to go into stores to buy music, right? Because of the digital era is turning. So there was a lack of big music sales. And with that said, we took advantage of that. And we took advantage of that and released a whole lot of free music, all in mixtapes. And Wayne philosophy and the labels didn't like that. They was like, oh, you're gonna oversaturate yourself, and you know, why y'all dropping so much? Why you getting on all these features, things like that? And Wayne's philosophy was, look, if we give it to them for free, once we ready to ask them to buy something, like, they are going to appreciate all the free things that they gave us, that we gave them, the fans, and I feel like they're gonna support. And that happened. So that Carter 3 was a transition. On the music side, it was a transition. We sold 1 million records in a week, and that was not happening at that time. That hadn't happened in years because of the state of it. Like, it was unfathomable in the music business at that time because of how hurt it was, right? Music business was hurting. So when we did that, that sparked a lot of music, but that turned into the corporate things, the Grammys. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, the Grammys could be very political. It's always something. They've done a horrible job in the past, which they've tried to right, of, you know, the people they had on there, how the awards was given out and such. But in a corporate world, that means something. So I used to tell all my artists, listen, this is an award show. If we win, if we lose, don't let it get you down, because there is politics in these things. And it's a voting system. And a lot of us don't register for the Recording Academy and cast votes. So you got peers that don't look like you that's voting on your music. And that's a problem on our side, right? But I'm like, don't beat yourself up or be defeated. But if we do get one, you know, that other side, that corporate side, that's what they understand. So I look at the Grammys and getting a Grammy as a tool, like another bullet in my chamber, in order to help me, that Grammy Award winning artist, that matters in the worlds that I was trying to break through on the other side, to talk that language, to get that superstar status and to cross over outside of just the hip hop box, you know? So that album was the turning point, business wise and music wise at the same time, because of the accolades that it got, because it was such a historical feat. I was able to tell that story on the business side and catapult Wayne into, you know, all the things I was telling people, like, you know, he really is a star. He's done something that nobody has ever done. He's breaking Elvis' record with on a singles chart. You know what I'm saying? Like, so those type of things help on that album. Was that turning point.
I'm not gonna lie, just to add to that, we talked about in a couple previous interviews, but the one I remember the most from this conversation was Sonny Digital. He was talking about like just that mixtape era and just putting out that free music. Like look at Future Run when he put out Monster, 56 Nights. Yeah. What else? Beast Mode. Yeah. And then he came out with the album Dirty Sprite 2, What a Time to Be Alive. Like that whole push of just free music. And I know we're in a time now where it's like, okay, we're streaming. We can't necessarily do that, but like, damn, maybe it needs to come back. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think streaming might have, because everybody can access it now, right? The mixtape was the anti, you know, you don't have to go buy an album. So it was something of value of getting something for free when you had to go into a store or buy a download during the Future era. You know, it still was downloads. It might have been CDs, but it was digital downloads, right? So a mixtape meant more. So now, where you could give somebody something for free, now it's probably don't have the value anymore, you know what I'm saying, of that. The tape doesn't have the value that it did before, because, you know, most people got these subscriptions and able to, you know, pay one price and get all this music for free anyway. You know, so you might as well get paid off it if that's the way, you know, and now I think it's keep evolving, that people are getting more and more accustomed to getting a streaming service and listen to music that way, whereas though they may not want to go to My Mixtapes or Dat Piff or, you know, the people that was popping at that point that was releasing those tapes, you know, and comfortable with how their brain is triggered to listen to their music. So they put this on a streaming platform, you know. I used to get that. Like, yo, why is this not on Apple? Or because people are slowly, well, now not slowly, but now understanding that streaming is here to stay.
So this is something that just popped up in my head, but I know a lot of artists think this. I was just talking to an artist about this, like I think like a month ago. But what do you think is the best way to, like, because with streaming platforms, you got Spotify, you got Apple, you got Tidal. What's the other one that started with a P? Pandora? Is that streaming?
Pandora.
Yes.
Is it
stream now?
Is it better to really like focus on just like one platform? We was having a conversation about like ProducerGrind putting out our own music with producers and artists, and we was like, how about we just really promote on YouTube, so that way all of the listeners could just go on YouTube to watch that video, listen to the music, and make the numbers look nice. And I kind of want to get your perspective on it as far as like what artists deal with. Is it better to just focus on one platform or really like put your music everywhere and let your numbers be kind of spread out? Like,
if you're gonna release it on a digital service platform like DSP, the Spotify app, I would say make sure you cover your tracks because you don't know what your consumer has, right? Mm-hmm. But your philosophy, YouTube is for free, right? So your philosophy is good, right? Because most people are accustomed to YouTube. If you want to do something like that, the only place I would do it is YouTube, right? Because people are accustomed to would go there, and know about the brand is strong and people access videos and a lot of different things on YouTube, right? So that would be the only place that I would do something like that. If you're going to release it on, I wouldn't say release it on just Apple or just Spotify because you'll be pigeonholing yourself to it all because some of those consumers that you have may not have that app, so you wouldn't want to do that. But the only way I say that would work is what you just suggested. Let me just release it on YouTube. But like I said, if you want to have that premium everywhere, build up your audience in one place and monetize your channel, if you get the numbers up because you can make money off YouTube. And shit, you make money off music on YouTube now. So now it's value because at first you couldn't make you couldn't make streaming dollars on YouTube. Now they pay royalties, so you can make money there the same way. Yeah.
For sure, man. So that's the hour and a half. Just a little master course. So to switch it up, we definitely have to talk about Drake and Nicki Minaj.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say, so in previous interviews, like I heard the story, but I want you to like tell the story of like the phone call and how when you saw him, you had that reaction.
With Drake?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, so Jazz Prince, I think, first played me his music. It was like, I found this kid on MySpace named Drake. I can't figure what it was going to. And I finally listened to the tape. It was Comeback Season tape. And when I heard it, it was like, I was like, yo, this dude, he's so articulate. Like, that was the first thing that stuck out for me with Drake. I was like, I could hear every word he's saying. Like, his voice was crisp.
Yeah, someone doing a impersonation of Drake last interview. She was on point.
Like he was articulate. I was like, and he got bars. I'm like, he's spitting and it's crisp. I was like, damn. So I'm like, man, okay, he got something. It's different. For me, I'm all about lanes and things that's different. Like, that's how my superstar, every part of the church I managed had some type of thing that was different about them. That's how they became, so it made it easier for me to market them to become superstars. So, yeah. And when he landed, when we got him a flight out, like, Jazz, you got to fly it out. Told Wayne about him, like, fly him out. And when I saw him, I was like, yo, you rap like that and you light skinned? I was like, and you Jewish too? In the music business, I'm like, oh, man, this is a no-brainer, right? And it's crazy because down the line, I didn't know he act till like months later. I didn't know he might. I think we was at a show. I was DJing, and he was just on the road. Because once he came out, he kind of stuck with us. He jumped on the bus, and we was doing shows. Wayne, I still was DJing at the time, and I can remember we had to be like Salt Lake City or Denver, one of them damn random cities in Midwest where growing up in New Orleans, I didn't think there were no black people, but. I'm breaking down and stuff and breaking down like the DJ equipment and he's just hanging with me afterwards while I'm breaking down and literally it's a bunch of like white girls in front of like, cheer me. I'm thinking they looking at me like I did a good job or something. I'm like, who the hell is Jimmy? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, who's Jimmy? Like, and he's like hands across his mouth, smirking and stuff. And then he goes up there and talks to everybody. I'm like, yo, he's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I act too. I was like, act too? He was like, yeah, I was on this little show called Degrassi for a couple of like 5 years or so, something like that. He said, I was like, you. And I was like, oh my God, this is just too easy. You know what I'm saying?
It's a layup.
It was a layup, and it literally was that, and Drake is probably. Listen, one of the greatest artists I ever worked with. He's still the same, never changed. never changed. Like as a person, as a human, all the success he has, the same person I met him all those years ago, 13 years ago or so.
So what year was this when you met him? Well, when you started managing
07.
him? 07?
And I managed him for the first 6 years up to
So like
until
2013.
nothing was the same, I think. Yeah. It's 5-6 years, yeah.
So definitely like just talk about the rollout of Drake. We got to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the best thing about Drake was he came self-contained. You know, like he had an identity. Like he had 40, so he had a sound, right? He had Oliver, so the aesthetic of OVO and the owl and who he was gonna be and what like they understood. Like he came comprised of what he wanted to be as Drake, right? You know, we just shifted from Comeback Seasons, which he was backpack rapping. It was more about lyrics to, helping. I never placed a song. Like he created all the songs. I can't take credit for that. You know what I'm saying? The only song I probably could say, which was that I had input on years later, I felt like I won a lottery was, and I'm not even managing at the time, just as a friend, was Nice for What? Because it's New Orleans and I helped bring the producers in to produce that record, right? But he had all that, you know what I'm saying? It was just help picking records, and give him his role, picking records, laying rollouts out, help him understand that side of it and understand the beats and the hooks and understand what makes great songs. And then playing, once we got the music, leveraging it, putting it in LeBron's soundtrack, and I'm going in and Forever. This is before the first album, and Forever, using our relationship with the Grammys, because we had Wayne just won a Grammy and Kanye was on the Grammys, to use our relationship with Ken Erlach to pitch for Drake to do this song, first artist to do a song on the Grammys that literally wasn't nominated without an album. First artist without an album to perform on the Grammys, right? No album at all, right? We performed Forever. We got in this Sprite commercial. So we started building the brand up, helped him build his touring, like gave him his real first deal, with Al Heyman. Al Heyman was a Live Nation. That the success we did off the Wayne tour, Al believed in us and gave Drake a tour deal with first album out, gave him a great tour deal. So it helped him grow his touring business. So we just help structure, help amplify the brand, put things in place and help grow. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I can't take credit for the aesthetic of Drake and the music of Drake. If I take any credit, is maybe help him understand what the hit song, what hit songs were, the DNA of hit songs, and understanding what that was. And he had everything else. Like, he's been that guy.
So the idea, you gave him the platform.
You was talking about like Sprite deals early in there. Mimi had a real good follow-up question. I don't want to steal it. You want to ask the question about that?
Okay, you already stole my best question.
I mean, go ahead. I want you to ask it. That's why I gave you the you know what I'm saying? Don't want to ask again?
No, it's okay. You can do it. It's okay.
I'm going to quote it in Mimi because this is her exact word. She said, in an article written about you, they called you an expert negotiator, being that you have closed deals with Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Jordan, Samsung, and more. So Mimi asks, what key tips can you give upcoming managers on closing deals and pitching their artists? This is Mimi. This one of my question to her.
I think that when you're dealing with that world, you have to go into those rooms and have the data, right? To present to a brand client to understand why your artist is going to bring value to their company, right? So numbers is one thing, because that's all they look at. They look at the bottom line, right? Numbers, so their social media follow, whatever it is. So you got to study what they're going into, like what they usually do, and then look at what they're missing, right? So I used to look at, what don't they have? You know what I'm saying? I came up to a point, I was coming up to a point where a lot of these companies had no clue about culture, right? So I would just educate them on the audience that Drake or Nicki or Wayne possess. The people, like they were blown away by the different demographics. Some of those old wigs, old white guys, old suits, thought that, rap music was just black people thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They didn't see the transition, but I'm on tour. I see our audience turning into 75% white and looking at the different demographics of how hip hop is uniting all different races. So I took that and you have to go in there and be very firm, confidence. Like confidence is one thing. Like you could get something apart. Your stats don't even have to be that great. But if you could walk in a room with confidence, like your artist is the shit and stand on that and make somebody believe that, you could sell the room. You could sell a room. Confidence is key, because nobody's going to give you a deal if you don't go in there looking like you believe in your artist way more than they do. So you have to have the utmost confidence, everything walking in that room to start, right? Before anything, because you could lack other things, but confidence could close a deal for you.
Yeah. Anything you want to say?
No, that really answered that question good for me.
All right, so I do want to talk about, because you talked about this like earlier in the interview, like in the very beginning, and I feel like producers could relate to this the most, especially me, because I'm one of these people who have like a huge problem, but like, how do you improve on just talking, communicating with people? Because a lot, especially producers, we could be introverts, you feel me?
Man, listen, I'm an introvert also.
I don't even believe, man.
I swear I'm an introvert, bro.
Yeah,
I swear, I'm an extrovert, introvert. Like I say, I could be crazy with people I know been around me for some years now or know me, and I know a different side of me than a person when I'm just walking in a room. Because, honestly, I have a partner that deals with my partner G. Robeson. He do a lot of the politicking for me, so I don't have to go in those rooms with those wigs, those fake ass conversations, and I don't have to deal with it. But if I was to say something, man, I would say like, listen, closed mouths don't get fed, which is a cliche statement, but it's true. And that in order for you to get on, this is a game of hustling. You have to understand that if you really want it, you got to pull it from somewhere. You got to pull it from somewhere in order to understand that that's what it takes. That's what it takes to be in this game. Like relationship capital is more valuable than money, and in this business, relationships are more value. If you have great relationships, you treat people right, you could be around this business a very long time. And within producers, so you got to forge those. You got to come outside your box. If you can't do that, go find your manager. That's this point where you got to go find somebody that has that. But you have to have that. You have to have that to play in this business. You have to have that to play in this business. When you hide and you get to the top, you may not have to do that as much because everybody's going to be coming seeking and want to work with you. But if you're trying to get on, there's no other way. There's no other way. So you have to understand that, listen, to be successful, you got to do it in this business. You got to build relationships, man. There's no other way to make it in this business. So
can we talk about how you, because I didn't have this written down, so I'm really squeezing this in before I ask these two questions I really want to ask. Okay. Can you tell us how you met G and how he, like what part he plays? Oh man,
so I met G. I had got to a point where them first couple years of Wayne, so this is probably about 2007 when we started working together. So 3 years in, or it might have been 2006, a couple years in, I knew I had reached the ceiling based off of what I knew. And I was like, being a manager, is like the smart thing for me to do is go seek help. I never was afraid to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't care about splitting money or anything like that. My goal was to make sure that Wayne popped. So I don't have an ego to say that, hey, Tez, you need some extra tutelage, because it seems like your knowledge, your resources is at its end, and it's time to go find somebody with more information that's smarter than me and have more experience than me to help me out, to help Wayne. So that's the point I was at, and it was just so crazy because I had been hearing about him, his name, because he was managing Kanye at the time, and Kanye was skyrocketing. He was hottest fish grease at the time, and people had been telling G about me also, about a young manager doing this thing coming up with, managing Wayne. And literally I was outside the W Hotel in LA, and he was talking to, I can't remember, I think it was BB Guns. It was a mutual friend that we had. He was already talking to her. I had got out the car and was just speaking to her, before I went in. It was like, hey, he was like, yo, do you know G? And I was like, oh, you G, I think people telling me I need to meet you. They're like, nah, people are telling you. And literally he was like, man, let's meet up. And we went out to eat the next day, man. We sat down and talked for hours. And what I realized was, what we have and why we still working together 17 years later as a company, as a family that we built, with our crew. Our crew's been the same for 17 years. Our values is aligned. Why we do it, our purpose, we want the flashy managers. Like, I just started doing things like this, having these conversations. That's more aligned with this new purpose and me giving back, though. But you would never know what the things that we were behind. Like, we weren't those guys, We just believed in doing the work for our artists, sometimes to our detriment. Sometimes those things are to our detriment because, we could have been sleazy and been more richer than what we are, but we was all about character, all about loyalty, doing business the right way, treating people the right way. So we identified that way, and he literally from that day was like, "Oh, you talking to this person? Nah, you need to meet Jimmy Iovine. Nah, you need to meet Doug Morris." Like, like I was talking to one person at one level at the label. He was taking me. Nah, you got to go to the top, Taz. Like, let me introduce y'all. Be selfless, And we was working together individually on Wayne, and in Kanye, he had Kanye, and we worked partner with Wayne, and then the very next person asked me to manage them was Drake. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, shit, we doing this together. We doing this great together. Drake asked me to manage him. I believe in him. Like, I think he's gonna be a superstar, bro. It's something I never seen. He was like, I was like, you want to do this together? We did that together, and even though I was sort of the quarterback of the situation, how we work, how we do with our different artists. Right. That was great. And then we ended up like, let's form our companies officially and create Blueprint Group. Cause I had like Brian Management, and he had hip hop since 1978. It was his company. Then we merged them officially and became Blueprint Group. Yeah.
So what were your goals when you initially started Blueprint Group, and what are y'all goals now?
Well, our goals at that point, was just, managing great talent that we believe in on the management side, right? Dealing with great talent that we believe in and helping them reach their dreams. Like, that's like the core DNA of usually where it starts with our relationship with artists. Now, as Blueprint grew, we understood the value, and we built the team. Like, we understood, like I said, the music business was in a recession, laying off a lot of people because of transitioning from CDs to digital, right? So what we did was we understood that we had to build, we weren't going to rely on the label to pop our artists off. So we built an in-house team of experts. So we had Al Branch, who was the marketing guy, who was already with Gene and them, and Gene Nelson, who was an A&R, part of the team. Brian Calhoun, digital. We ended up getting a film and television division. We had a branding division. Matt Ferrigno started with us. So we brought everything in-house, and we became a one-stop shop for an artist, because we couldn't at that time, because labels were didn't have the money and the staff, and we couldn't, we understood that we were not gonna let our artists' detriment of their music and their careers fall on the label terms. So that's how we built our set. And with that, and all the work we did over the years, all the brands we started working with and things like that, we eventually understood, like, shit, we got value in a whole lot of different places. You know what I'm saying? We could build a CultureLab and be a think tank for we literally created culture. We created these superstars, you know what I'm saying? And we were the architects of this. A lot of people don't know this, but you're talking about the Billboard, history of Billboard, top artists, entries, is Drake, Wayne, Nicki, Kanye is all top 10 in the history of music. And if you count their work with my partner, like G, starting with Rockefeller and doing a lot for Jay-Z, is right up there. So definitely 4 out of the top 10 artists in the history of music and charting. Like, we literally were the architects of building these brands, right? So it took us to say, let's start doing other dope shit. So we got put on our executive. We always had labels, and we just never really paid attention to it till G-Eazy, you know, because we were like managers at heart. But we started doing things like this, you know, having partnerships with companies and consulting and all other things that we're doing.
So when did like what point of Lil Nas X career did y'all come in?
At the beginning. So Old Town Road was out. It was before Billy Ray Cyrus got on it though.
Boom. So yeah, just like I really just want to know, like, you could really just talk about the rollout of that all the way to like.
Well, I think that, and G definitely, and we have a partner on that, Adam Lieber with Rebel. You know, we have a partnership with that with Lil Nas, but G is like the quarterback of the Lil Nas X account. I don't like to say it like that because, you know, we don't look at our artists like that, but just for say, so he kind of quarterbacks that side of things and, like, you know, oversees everything. But, you know, I think that the first idea, you know, from the jump is when, you know, Lil Nas was looking at different people to manage him. He sat with all the big people, the Scooter Browns and everybody to manage. He was signed to Columbia, and Columbia was helping him pick a manager. And he drew toward us, you know, and Adam. You know, we had, you know, he was a Nicki fan, so, you know, he understood what we had done and our track record, and kind of came aboard. And I think the very first thing that happened was, you know, that's when country music was trying to not say it was a country song. This is buzzing on TikTok. Hadn't got Billy Ray Cyrus on it yet though, you know. And we was like, you know, okay, we're gonna put a country artist on the song, and what they're gonna say now, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna force it. Yeah. And that was literally the first thing. Literally, that was the biggest song of all of our and any of our artists.
We interviewed the producer of that song like 4 years. How old that song is?
4 years.
It's gotta be like
I think we
4 or 5
I think
years.
we interviewed the producer like 4 years ago, and he has this one tweet that's like known in the community. He tweeted out his first publishing check from there.
Crazy.
His tweet was like, "Holy shit!" You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Shout out. I can forget the nigga name, but shout out you, bro. You feel me?
Yeah. So, yeah, man. I think after that, you know, what we understood was always, because a lot of people fall into this, right? A lot of people fall into this one big hit, this one big record, stretch it out, grow it, you know, and ride on it. And they could easily become a one-hit wonder, you know, because they're not thinking about their next one. Facts. You know, we was thinking about our next one. What's the follow-up? You know what I'm saying? And there's no saying that you will ever get another record like that, but at least we have to build his brand up, because now the song was bigger than his name. So our job was to figure out who Lil Nas X was, who he wanted to stand for, what he wanted to identify with. You know what I'm saying? That came a part of, you know, wanting to come out and all those things, you know what I'm saying, and make sure that the timing of it all was great. And we had the music. We had music also to come behind it with that EP, even though the album wasn't gonna be ready because of the song, but we had to have a follow-up to come right afterwards in order to double down, to show that, you know, he's not just a country singer and get put in that box, country rap, and that's not all he could do, you know. So the goal was to literally, you know, build his brand up and start. And Nas came as a super, super incredible marketing genius on his own, and how he understood, you know, I'm learning from him, you know, because he's in the TikTok generation. TikTok's brand new. You know what I'm saying? learning, you know, I learn from everybody still to this day. You know, I don't know everything, and things are always changing. Especially keeping youth around is a good thing to understand like what's going on. So he was great at his marketing side and understanding his brand, knowing how to put that out there, using the tools that everybody was using at his current set. So our job was to make sure that, you know, we got Cardi on a song and we solidified it with the music, getting the music right, getting the music right and A&R and listening, give him, you know, tips and putting him in with the right people to continue that so he wasn't a one-hit wonder to build his brand. And it's still going. You know, he still has a tour. Well, he just got off his first tour, but that was 3 years later, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we wanted to do that the right way. We didn't want to go straight to arenas and make sure that that's a process. That's a building process. So we just helped him, you know, understand and rolling out his career the correct way. And it's been great, man. Nas is a great person.
So what's y'all goals? Because we see this snippet of this pop song. We see y'all starting to really spread out with the sound. So
yeah, I mean, the goals is literally to, you know, she wants to do it all. She wants to be a superstar. So, you know, it's not nothing that we haven't done before. So our goal is to, just like we did with every one of our other artists that we manage, put those pieces in place, using our knowledge, our relationships to help her get there. So it's a lot coming, you know what I'm saying? So it'd be, you know, y'all look out this year. It's going to be a lot. Y'all going to see it. Y'all going to see transition, trust me.
I'm excited to see it. So in a previous interview, you talked about Bishop Omar helping you realize that you could use your voice and platform to reach back out and give back. So tell us about meeting him and how it inspired you to create ventures like A Symbol, CultureLab, Project Go Dark, and let's talk about those projects.
Man, Bishop passed. He died of COVID. Bishop Omar, rest in peace. Changed my life. Well, he gave me the confidence, that word confidence, right? He gave me the confidence to, I knew what God was telling me. I knew he was telling me to, you know, it was around the time that Trump was in office and the country is super divided. And I'm trying to figure out what can I do to, you know, I'm thinking about all the things I could do to, you know, to equal the playing field for Black people. And I met Bishop because I also did sports. Built Young Money Sports Agency in 4 years to top 5 football agency. Jalen Hurts we signed, and Quentin Williams, and a whole lot of other people. But the person, my guy Ray, was my close friends. He was working for me for the Young Money Sports Agency, and Bishop was his pastor. And, you know, and he was doing things for the community. And I think somebody passed in Dallas. It was a senseless violence killing. And he just wanted me to speak to. And I'm like, I don't never speak, bro. Like one of the first things I ever did to kind of publicly speak. And I was like, okay. He was like, just give, you know, Ted, you know all these, you know, you have a story to tell. And I literally did that. And Bishop was kind of blown. And then we just sat there talking. And he was like, you know, I'm telling I want to build a school. And this whole thing about building a music program and exposing kids to music because there's no Black executives and the top of the top is still being controlled by people don't look like us, and hip hop is the largest genre. So I saw all of that. He was like, you need to be out there saying that. And I was like, bet, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get my artists, like I'm trying to think of how to get my artists to do these things. And he's just like, no, you need to do it. I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, you have something to say. He was like, you've been in this, like, you blowing me away with just conversation of your story and all the people that you, like, you know who you work with? Like, and mind you, this probably around that time, this may be like 5 years ago, when, like, I've been so much since I started in the business, like, on go, you know what I'm saying? And just working and doing the work, head down. I've never sat and kind of reveled on the success the things that we really have done as a company, you know? And that was one of the moments where he stopped me and was like, no, you need to do this. Like, you got to do this. And, you know, he was like, God wouldn't be putting these things on your heart if he didn't want you to, you know, I'm like, it's been on my spirit, man. He's like, you got to do it. And he literally gave me the confidence. He saw confidence in me. He was like, you're the person, you're the vessel. You're the vessel that could create change and build things like CultureLab and a Symbol, which is a a platform that I have that's literally Black innovators, where anybody really, but it's catered to Black and brown people, will be able to have a phone call, mentorship, advice to different other Black people around their industry, and get like, think about Masterclass and Cameo kind of coming together. And you'll be able to, if you want to learn how to be a manager, you could fucking book $100 and book an hour session to me to talk to me like this. So the new version of it is launching next month. Well, I don't know when it's coming out. It's launching in March. Maybe it'll be out. I don't know if so. End of March, we'll be launching a platform, but something I'm excited about because it's all about exposure. I say that growing up where I grew up in New Orleans, and I think that Black people, what's our biggest downfall is, like, we're the most talented, gifted, smartest people on this planet. We've been ostracized and for centuries. But if we're exposed to information, we could do anything. And the problem is we don't have that exposure. The education system, I think, is pretty trash for the most part, especially in our urban neighborhoods. And we don't get the know-how. If we had the information and know what it takes to be a great manager or what it takes to be a good music executive, no matter what area, A&R or marketer or anywhere you are, we had a person to tell us this, we could soar in anything that we do. So I'm trying to solve that problem. So Bishop kind of gave me that will in my back, and I thank him because he put me on a purposeful path that I knew God wanted for me, and it's been beautiful. It's literally what I've been doing the last couple of years. Most of all, like I said, the management just got me back in, brought me back to management with Latto, but I literally was just worried about building platforms, music internship programs like Project Go Dark with Kyle Campbell and his team and his friends, helping grow that and everything through my foundation, teaching back at Jackson State. So all these things is about exposure and uplift and building a bridge so the younger generation could have it easier and don't have to go through the hurdles and the bricks and the walls that Cortez had to go through when he first came in the game.
So being that, your job is like to structure, like, not, I don't want to use that word, so I'm going to say leave it as structure. Being that your job is to structure other people's lives, where do you go for your piece?
Whew! That's a good question. Being a manager, doing this is just an executive. It takes a lot of sacrifices, right? And it's not that easy, especially in a manager role when you get to the level working with artists, when they get to the success level that I've had, because, you consume daily with their lives, So my escape has always been spiritual first, right? So I'm not, I'm not in church every Sunday, but I have a very great connection with God that I talk to a lot, pray a lot, and I'm lucky to get guidance and answers. So that's sort of my solace first. The second thing is, I don't know if it was on camera or not. I was telling y'all my friends has been the same, my same friends I had at Jackson State and in high school. Every chance I get from the music business, I be in Jackson, Mississippi, still a band head, marching band, going to the games and just doing things and going places where I could disconnect and don't even have to talk about music, because I got friends that we built friendships that was long before I was a music executive and don't really care about that part of my life, and I could just go and talk trash and reminisce and go to places, in Jackson, Mississippi, or back home in New Orleans, my high school friends, where it's just all about our origins of our relationship. So I try to do that a lot, see family, because that was the sacrifices that came with this business, once those artists got bigger and bigger and bigger and I gained more and more, family time, all those things was sacrifice, and I don't get to have. So my solace and my place to go is to, spending time with family, spending time with friends, wherever I could do that.
And I'm going to wrap on this question. So if you could change one thing about the music industry, what would it be?
If I could change one thing about the music industry, about the industry itself, it will be bringing more what I'm working on, giving more representation for Black executives in this business at the highest of levels, so we could control our culture, and we could stop having these same lifetime stories of people getting ripped off because they don't have the exposure, the knowledge, of how to navigate this business, because it is a business. The music business is a business. And to build platforms and bridges so that we see ourselves in the executives like we are controlling the music waves.
Damn, that was a good answer. I think this was a great interview because it was informative for like artists, managers, producers, execs.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite interviews. I ain't just saying that because
y'all capping.
Nah, I swear.
my favorite one.
I'm about to go back and watch
y'all seen this nigga
favorite. I'm about to go back and watch some of the old interviews.
That's my favorite one.
This is definitely one of my favorite interviews. Every time.
No, definitely not though.
Nah, this was definitely like fire. Yeah.
We love
it,
the
man.
gems.
Y'all had great questions. This was dope. I don't usually do this, but I appreciate y'all talking to me.
We appreciate you for coming on this platform.
So, man, well, that's a wrap. That's another episode of the podcast. We're going to see y'all in the next one, man.
Yeah.